A Foggy Evening by A.J. Allen. I want to make it quite clear from the very beginning that what I am going to tell you now isn't a story in any sense of the word, and it most certainly hasn't got a plot. If the various happenings I have told you about from time to time had always conveniently arranged themselves into magazine story form, my reputation for telling the truth wouldn't have lasted very long. As it is, that reputation is very precious to me, as you can quite imagine. No, this is just a rambling account of a foggy evening, but it may interest one or two of you as an example of the sort of things that may happen to one, if one will only let 'em, as it were. Do you remember the 9th of December last? Probably not as such, but if you don't remember the date, you won't have forgotten the fog. Well, that's when it was, anyway. It's a little difficult to know where to begin, but there's always the beginning. One might try that. It must have been about 7:15 when I got home, and my wife met me and said, "You're dining out, you are." And I said, "Oh, I am I? And what about you? And where am I dining?" And she said, "You're dining with the Lees. She's just telephoned to say they're a man short at the last minute, so I've lent them you, and I shall have something on a tray." Which, of course, as you all know, means nothing on a tray, but that's a detail. Well, my dear wife and Mrs. Lee seemed to have disposed of me all right for the evening, so I went up and changed, and in due course arrived at the Lees, just before 8 that was. They live about 7 minutes' walk from Hampstead Tube Station. At this time it was beginning to get distinctly foggy. I rang the bell and waited, and nothing happened, so I rang again. This time a terrified-looking parlour-maid opened the door, with a face like a sheet, so much so that I asked her what was the matter. It appeared that there'd been a tragedy just a few minutes before. The Lee's small son, aged 8, had been put to bed early because of the party. He'd evidently felt bored, and had got out of his room and started sliding down the banisters. Unfortunately, he'd crashed and pitched onto his head on the hall floor. While the maid was telling me about it, Lee came to the door himself and fetched me in. The boy hadn't been moved, and a doctor was overhauling him. So far he'd found a very nasty cut on the head and bad concussion. Altogether it was pretty serious. Mrs. Lee was naturally frightfully upset, and any idea of a dinner party was a clean wash-out. I mean, it would be quite out of the question. So, after some discussion, it was arranged that I should stand outside the front door to avoid its...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?